Well, you just saw the conclusion, more than likely, of the NHL USA versus Canada Four Nations tournament, which is basically the NHL's current version of their All-Star weekend. And what you saw was a battle of grit, will, honor, respect, integrity, heart, soul, everything that stands for what a man should be. Canada comes away with a 3-2 win over the United States. Obviously, I'm American, so I'm disappointed in the result. But you have to tip your cap to all these men out there. This is an all-star weekend. But these men take country and their sport and they hold it dearly. And even when they would play in regular all-star games versus, back in the day, it was Campbell Conference versus Wales, and now it's East versus West, and all the different variations. Hockey has always remained true to its roots. These men are dogs. These men are fighters. These men will not quit for anything. And these men are the type of men you should want your kids to emulate in what they do, because you're sure as shit not getting that from NFL players. You're not getting that from NBA players, but you get that from NHL players and Major League Baseball players because they want to win their All-Star games. They have close, tight, hard-fought games in these All-Star games. This one even had more meaning because it's country against country. This is like a gold medal matchup. But that pride, that heart, it's something that's so special. And it's something that these NBA players could truly learn from after that debacle of another All-Star game they just had this past weekend. Welcome back, everyone, to another edition of Rudy's Rant. Proud of coming on the podcast. We talk facts over feelings. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont, a.k.a. Rudy the Hammer. And I'm bringing it to you live again. For those of you who are back again, I appreciate you. Like the video, subscribe. If you haven't done so already, leave a comment, ring the bell. And for those of you who are new, hope you enjoy being here. Like the video, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. We do member live first Tuesday of every month at 9 p.m. And we do regular lives at 9 p.m. the rest of the month. And then on that first Tuesday, we do it at 10 o'clock after following members live. Let's talk about what we're discussing here, and that is heart, grit, desire, determination. If you just looked at the faces of the players for the United States of America, they look like the world ended. And I'm not sitting here saying that you need to look like the world ended in an All-Star game, but what I saw when the U.S. was playing in the Olympics, these guys looked like they didn't care too much. They didn't look like it meant all that much to them. They don't have country pride. They just don't. Because if they did, they'd be winning games by 30 because they're that much better and that much more skilled than these other countries. Someone will sit here and tell me, oh, the gap has closed. No, it has not closed if you played actually with some heart, with some courage, and with some fight and some caring. That doesn't exist anymore. But in hockey, it does. Matthew Tkachuk said, who plays for the United States, who actually missed all the third period because he got hurt. And it sucks because I'm a Florida Panthers fan and he's our best player. But in this game, there were multiple Panthers players playing against each other. I mean, it was real. And Matthew Tkachuk said this was more than playing in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. He said specifically, it feels bigger than Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final. This is a man who just won the Stanley Cup in Game 7 on his home ice. That's how important this was to these guys. That's how much they wanted to win. And then you have a thing with PK Subban, who was a former NHL player, and he had a lot to say about what's going on in the NBA and comparing it to the NHL and what he wants to see as a guy who was a former star, in the NHL, a big time player. And I'm gonna play that video for you, so check it out. And before I hit that play button, this was actually this morning on First Take. You have Stephen A. Smith, you have Brian Windhorst, you have Chris Canty, who's a former NFL player, and you have PK Subban. So you have this conversation of NHL versus NBA, and everyone is saying the same thing about the NBA. It seems like the only people that don't say this about the NBA are the players. The players. They can sit here and say, they can sit here and say, the ideas and whatever they want to say. Until those motherfuckers sack up and play hard, it doesn't matter what you do. Until those motherfuckers sack up and act like this shit matters, it doesn't matter what you do. You can gimmick it to death. You can have Caitlin Clark playing on one of the teams for all I care. Unless you actually sack up and play hard, nobody's going to care. And it's going to continue that way. You saw the WNBA All-Star game last year. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. They wanted to win. It was a fight. But this is what PK Subban had to say this morning on First Take.
In terms of the money, you're probably right. There is a lot of money. But once again, I asked the question, what are you playing for? Like, if you're really about it, if you're really about sports, then you're about two things, your teammates and the fans. And I'm sorry, it doesn't matter how much money you're making. When you do not show up to play, you're letting your teammates down. When you do not show up to play, you're letting the fans down that are paying you 40, 50, 60 million. I don't care if you're getting 300 million. Congratulations. But these people in here are paying $2,500 a ticket, $5,000, that are blue-collared, hardworking people. If you don't get your head wrapped around that, you shouldn't be in pro sports, because how are we going to grow? How do we expect you to be an example? Well, guess what? You don't want to be? You are one. You're on the biggest stage. You just said it. They make the most money. You're an example. You got to show up. You got to take that on. I'm sick and tired of making athletes greats, all-time greats, that aren't the best examples. Those are the people that we want our kids to follow, that we want athletes to follow. That helps us in our game. Stephen A., you want athletes to be educated on this and understand this. They got to understand the importance of showing up to the All-Star game and being on the court and playing banged up sometimes and playing injured maybe at times. Thank you. And participating, because here's the thing. Because you're making 100, 200, 300 million, you should be out there banged up. You should be. That's why we pay you, is to max out. We talk about greatness and it being the longevity of somebody's career. I don't care if you play 50 years. I want your best 10. I want you on the court dominating. I want you to go all out. I want Michael Jordan. I want Kobe. That's what I want in every sport. That's the guy that I follow. You're a different version than that, you don't get my respect. In terms of the money, you're probably right.
Bro, he keeps it real. Oh, I love PK Subban. I love watching hockey. I love watching hockey in the playoffs. Like, I admit I don't watch it as much in the regular season. I don't watch much. I don't watch a lot of team sports right now in the regular season. I don't watch the NBA, and I probably won't watch a whole lot of playoff basketball if the Miami Heat aren't there, which I don't expect them to be, because I just don't enjoy it. It's not a fun thing to watch. It's an investment of my time, and I'd rather invest my time in other things, like even maybe creating content for y'all, but also spending time with my children, because they're more important than watching a fucking basketball game where a bunch of prima donna overpaid bitches are fucking sitting there not even playing hard. It's exhausting to me. It's exhausting to me to watch these overpaid whiny fucks not play hard. And PK Subban just called all those motherfuckers out. He called them all out. Period. Period. You can't play hockey. You can't just play hockey, because showing up in hockey will get you hurt. You have to be ready to go in hockey. Basketball, roll the ball out. We'll just pass it up and down the floor. No one will run. No one will defend. Dunk, three, dunk, three, dunk, three, three, dunk, three, three, three. No one cares. Hockey, these dudes are built differently. They're built differently. NFL guys, I don't want to play in the Pro Bowl. So guess what? We canceled the damn Pro Bowl. I remember when the Pro Bowl was fun. I remember when they played football and that shit was fun and those teams wanted to win. It's like the more money you pay these prima donna motherfuckers, the worse it gets. The worse it's like the more you pay them, the more they forgot that they actually used to actually love the sport that they played. They lost sight of what's important. I heard tonight that the tickets for this All-Star game were going for a minimum $2,300 a ticket. Can you imagine if I paid $2,300 a ticket and I saw the bullshit motherfucking garbage that I saw in that sorry good-for-nothing piece of shit NBA All-Star weekend, where Wembanyama is just tossing the ball to the floor and Chris Paul's tossing the ball to the floor, and I got a G League player and Mac McClung playing against a bunch of nobodies in the dunk contest when he's a nobody, and watching a G Leaguer win the dunk contest and watching them cancel events because Caitlin Clark decided she didn't want to do it. Like, y'all are weak. And then watching those fake All-Stars play in an All-Star game. This is happening because you sorry sons of bitches don't play hard. So people are trying to come up with ideas to make you do something, to make it different. But different doesn't work because you're still not gonna play hard. So you have sorry sons of bitches like LeBron who sit here and wait till an hour before the game and say, I'm not playing. I got a boo-boo. Guess what? He was on the floor on Wednesday playing for the Lakers. I thought he was hurt. Matthew Tkachuk missed the third period of this game because he got hurt. I would bet you he doesn't play the first game back for the Florida Panthers because he's actually injured now, playing in an all-star exhibition. But exhibition is not an exhibition to them. It's their soul. It's their country. And even when it's East versus West, they all want to win. They take it very seriously. That's the truth. So I have much respect for PK Subban and what he has to say. But let me show you something else, which makes this an even bigger joke. And before I play this, consider the fact that in the first game between the U.S. and Canada, there were 3 fist fights in the first 9 seconds. Now, that didn't happen tonight. They didn't have a whole bunch of fights. They were rough. They were hitting each other. They were playing hard. They didn't have the fights. But those fights were a tone setter for the U.S. because they were playing that game up in Canada. And they wanted to set a tone while they're being booed out of the building, right? You'll never – I'm not sitting here saying that I want to see fist fights in a basketball game. It's a different kind of sport. It's a different kind of sport. But I want to set that up for this comment because Molly QERIM really, really hits it once again out of the park, the wrong direction, because she's an utter fucking buffoon who doesn't belong on television. This sounds like regurgitation of the shit that she would make excuses about in dealing with Caitlin Clark, where she would, oh my God, you take a listen.
Likelihood we see, them drop the gloves tonight?
Oh my, I mean, first of all, which fan doesn't want to see players drop the gloves tonight? After what happened last Saturday, I think it's pretty safe to say that everybody wants to see it. But what everybody also wants to see is the physicality. These players left everything on the ice. There was no stone unturned. There was no inch given. There was no cutting deals. There was nothing like that. The players went on the ice and they played for their countries. They left it all out there. And I expect nothing short of that tonight. I actually expect more. So I would not be surprised. Don't be fake surprised if they start throwing bombs in the first minute. Don't be fake surprised. Be ready.
Well, let me ask you the question because Doggy was on the show yesterday. It's good to see you, PK. Doggy was on the show yesterday complaining about the lack of authenticity, that it was choreographed, that it was planned, etc., as opposed to fisticuffs taking place simply because of the animosity that exists between the two teams or the two nations, etc. It was choreographed. What are your thoughts about that?
You know how stupid that sounds? Go to a boxing match. It's a planned fight. Choreograph. These dudes end up. Mad Dog says some dumb shit at times. My God.
Is that true?
Well, Brandon Hagel put a stop to that by saying that he did it for the flag and he did it for the jersey. Look at the history of hockey. I mean, people can have as many opinions as they want and be negative as if they choose to be. I don't see anything negative about it. If the players want to go out and fight, I mean, tell that to Matthew Tkachuk's face. Tell that to Brandon Hagel's face. There's nothing fake about those fights. I mean, you're trading punches. It's for a reason. These players do everything for a purpose. And it's not just about those players. It's not about them individually, rivalries, or them arranging a fight. It's not about that. It's about them wanting to go out and do more than just play for their team, do the most for their country. And on this stage in international hockey, when you go overseas, you can't fight. That's the difference between four nations and any other event that we've ever seen in hockey, is that this is playoff hockey. This is the way hockey should be played. And you can do everything that you need to do to win here, and we allow that to happen. And the players have given us the best show so far.
That was the video talking about fighting in this game. And when you look at it from that perspective, yes, those guys all knew they were going to throw down. But doesn't make it choreographed. They were beating the crap out of each other. What is a boxing match? It's a planned fight. Would you say it's choreographed? No, they're fighting. But this was the video I want you to see about with Molly Curran and the nonsense that comes out of her mouth, where she insinuates something absolutely preposterous.
It's just interesting to me that certain sports you're allowed to fight and other sports
That's
could
fair.
never happen.
And by the way,
Optics!
in international
That's right.
competition over the last 50 years, they've had a total of 5 fights. USA and Canada, they had 3 and 9 seconds on Saturday night. That drove me crazy. All right, number 2.
Just a little hypocrisy.
All right, number 2. This is a big.
It's just interesting.
Did you hear that nonsense? Did you hear that nonsense? That nonsense is an insinuation that there's racism in fighting in hockey and that other sports don't get away with it because they're black and because hockey players are white. She called it hypocrisy. She finds it interesting. Stupid asshole. You grew up in the Northeast in Connecticut. You went to UConn. And you're going to sit here and talk about hypocrisy and fighting because they're white. I'd be happy to watch an NBA player play hard. Those pussies would never get into a fight. They're softer than butter. The fuck is she talking about? Every time she opens her pie hole, vomit comes out. Bile comes out. Molly, you ain't black. Stop acting like you are. Stop taking a position of a black person. You're not black. You sound ridiculous. It's a fucking sport that they have fights in. Basketball is not a sport that has fights in it. Baseball typically does not have fights unless you plunk someone in the head with a ball. Football, which is actually a fighting sport, doesn't even have fights. Because these dudes don't really want to fight. Hockey players are the only guys that are willing to lose their teeth for their sport. So don't sit here and call it racism and say, oh, if they were black, there'd be a problem. Man, shut the fuck up while you have PK Subban as a guest on the show today. Oh, my God. This woman's out of her fucking mind. But what's new? What's new? What's new? What's new? All that said, NHL players, I salute y'all. All of y'all. Y'all come to bang. Y'all come to play. Y'all come to fight. Y'all leave it out there. And that's how everyone else should be like. Everyone else should take their sport that seriously because fans are paying hard-earned money to sit in those seats while lazy sacks of shit in the NBA won't put their sneakers on. Those are my thoughts. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Like, subscribe, follow, hit that bell. I appreciate y'all. This is Rudy's Rant. Facts over feelings. Come on now.